set up on YouTube. There we go. Okay. YouTube doesn't always work. Sometimes it glitches. So what time is it? Oh, it's 5:45 on Sunday night. Okay. So we'll get the hair sticking out here. How are we doing? Sunday night here. It depends where you are in the world. It might be Monday there. I lived in Australia for years. It's like a day ahead. So I don't understand this. My kids got online and took $100 each. Is there anything I should take away from Chris? I don't know how they got access to it. And I don't know how old they are. So yeah, I need more information on that. Anyway, just going to wait till a few more people turn up. I never know. I'm not doing regularly scheduled lives anymore. I'm just doing like these pop-ups when I have time. And so let's see. Oh, it's really slow right now. Facebook's always a slow burn. It takes a while for people to come in anyway, so I might just get going. Anyway, my name's Lisa. Welcome back. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom, and I'm also a grandmother. If you look at BratBusters.com, you can see my, just a sec. You're on Instagram first, not Facebook. Am I on Instagram? Is this Instagram or Facebook? Is this Instagram or Facebook? I can't tell by looking. Because Tabitha said, oh, maybe you're on Facebook. Okay, that's okay. Well, I believed it. I didn't know where I was. Was I on Snapchat? I don't know. Okay. Okay, thanks so much for confirming that. Okay, these are the kids who stole $100 on. How did they get access to that money? They stole $100 online, but how? They're 10, 11, and 12. How did they get access? How did they get access to money on Facebook? I don't understand that. Maybe you could just tell me how that was happening. Oh, don't worry, Tabitha. I'm not a very smooth person on here anyway, so I don't care. It's not like I ever think I have things figured out, so don't worry about it. Okay, my daughter, we're very different. She plans everything out. She doesn't like making mistakes. So I could care less. Doesn't bother me in the least. It does with some things, but not with this. I didn't even finish my introduction. Sorry. If you go to BratBusters.com, you'll see my free behavior board. It's like a mini course, actually. And it's also got a section on toddlers. So, and then you can see my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds or my toddler one, or you can look into coaching. I got some free spots. So I was able to take on a bunch of new clients over the weekend. So it's gone well. I've got one. He said that the payment didn't go through. I still have to check into that because I was a bit confused about that. If you're watching right now, I'm going to be looking at it tonight. So yeah, he said, oh, my payment didn't go through, but it said it did on my end. So I'm not too sure what happened. Okay. Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Is that Michigan? Sault Ste. Marie. It has to be Michigan. You have a granddaughter? I have a almost 12-month-old granddaughter. It's lots of fun. Fun to spoil. Ottawa, Canada. Hi, Pauline. Oh, they really stole, didn't they? Yeah, I wouldn't worry about Christmas. I'd be doing something. That's a big deal to me. So they stole money. Yeah, they stole $100. I would almost say that would be coaching, because if they're willing to do that, you got some stuff to work on. So it's not just about that. It's about the fact that they would do that, right? You got to work on your leadership skills. You might want to check out my boot camp course. It goes from 3 to 12 years old. That might be next level. It might be coaching. So I don't have an easy answer. It's a process. I'd have to figure out why they would do that. It's a bit of a tell. It means that they're sneaky and they don't respect you. So you got to work on that. Oh, you got a 3-year-old who eats dinner, then runs and says she's not hungry. 2 hours later, she's telling me she's hungry. Well, then just have her dinner in the fridge. So yeah, I'm assuming that she does that so she'll get something yummier afterwards. Yeah, I'd give her the same dinner if she's really hungry, but not once you start the bedtime routine. And some of them are, okay, I'm not a nutritionist or a doctor, so I can't really comment on this, but I'm going to anyway. Kids are more, I found, I'm like this actually, kids are more grazers. I sat down and ate meals, but I would always have rather grazed. But yeah, kids are grazers. They don't tend to eat as much in one sitting as we would like. So maybe that's part of it too. Maybe she's not really that hungry later on. I don't know, but yeah, I'd keep her dinner. If you think she actually could eat more, she's just anxious to get up. Or you could have a rule where you say, okay, so dinner is, you have to sit for 20 minutes or whatever. You have to sit here for 20. You're chatting while you're eating. So she can't just get up and run. She has to stay. She may as well be eating if she has to sit there anyway. There's a few different things you can try. I had something kind of embarrassing happen. I just finished having a cold, and well, it's not like I had it an hour ago and I just finished. Anyway, so yeah, I had a cold all last week, and I don't know why. I don't usually get this, but I was at the gym. I thought, what's that? Is my nose running? And I had a bloody nose, and it was running down my face. You've never seen people more but at least I didn't have to wait for machines after that. I just walked around with a bloody nose. But yeah, it was really weird. I never usually get that. So it's a great way to get on a machine if you don't have to wait, because they're quite happy to run away from you. South Bend, Indiana. I love your stuff. Thanks so much, Aaron. I appreciate your support. Houghton. Is that Houghton? It's got to be Houghton. What else could that be? Can't be Houghton. Must be Houghton, Louisiana. Alex. Never seen Alex spelled that way. Hi, Texas. Judy. I already said that, I think. Okay. Oh, I'm just waiting for more questions. How did you manage playing with your kids and getting your household things done? My to-do list feels never ending. I'd love to play, but have to tidy up. Should I accept a dirty house, or is there a certain amount of time that should be good enough for playtime? Okay. I'm a very fussy person. Like, I never clean a house. I maintain a clean one. I always say that I never clean dirty. I maintain clean. So, and my kids knew the rules. Like, they could play like hard, but they could never have everything out at once. So they'd have to and they knew to clean up their own dishes. They knew that. And they had to keep their rooms decent looking. But also, I'm more of a minimalist. I never had a lot of junk around to mess up the house, right? So, and I vacuum and mop every day. I still do clean the bathrooms and that every day. But that's just, it's so fast because I maintain it. It's kind of like leadership. Getting leadership as a parent is hard work, but maintaining it's a piece of cake. That's how I run a house too. I maintain an organized, clean house. So, that's just my own personality. But yeah, and my kids knew that. And I used to say to them, I'll never ask you to scrub the house or do any deep cleaning unless you leave a mess. It's funny, they never did. So yeah, and they were allowed to make a huge mess with something when they were playing with it. But once done, it had to be packed up. I kind of treated it like a classroom, like you get something out and you play with it and then you put it away before you go on to the next thing. So, and I'd wait till they asked for something. They learned this from a very young age. Like, I'd wait till, if I wanted them to learn how to clean up, I'd say, okay, we're going to go to the park now. As soon as you clean up your toys. So they'd run around cleaning up their toys to go to the park. So, and I did a toy rotation system. So we really didn't have a lot out. Just started your boot camp course for toddlers. You said to tackle one thing at a time, but I could take 50 times to sink in. What should we do? Okay. Good question. Yeah, it does take about 50 times to sink in. But with toddlers, you can address a lot more than just one thing, depending on how often they do it. But if they're doing it 50 times a day, then you just address one thing. So you can be doing something, well, let's say 10 times a day, but it could be 10 different things. So it's not so much that you're just doing, I say that just to make it easier, but you have to be the judge of how much energy have you got for this. But then also mix it up with a lot of fun, because if you're having fun with your kids, they'll lean into being good just to get the fun parent. Because I got real boring if they were acting out. I got really boring really fast. So, but yeah, I get it. It's a slow burn. And the whole idea is that once you get good at this and they know you're in charge, they don't tend to do other naughty things. The other naughty things tend to drop away because they usually know when they're naughty. So they just kind of stop being naughty if they know they've got a leader as a parent. What's the point in being naughty when you know it's going to be taken care of, right? Okay. Hello, this is Rosie from Chicago. I have a 6-year-old daughter that lies all the time. One time she drew on the wall and lied about it. I knew it was her because I know her handwriting. Plus, she probably signed it. But she constantly lies. Any advice on how to deal with it or what to do about it? I had a client a while back. God, I can't remember what it was. I don't remember if I asked permission to tell the story, though, anyway. But it was very similar. They lied about something that was so obviously them. Like the parents had proof that it was them, but no, it wasn't me. It's like when a kid eats chocolate and lies about it and their faces, like that kind of thing. Anyway, get the behavior board, put down no lying as the rule, and just follow up. And then when she lies about it, just say, well, I'm calling it a lie anyway. I could be wrong, but you're going to get a consequence anyway. Okay, don't argue it. Don't discuss it. Just call it like it is. This is a tell. Just turned 3, constantly fights daily tasks, getting changed, getting dressed, brushing teeth, brushing. It just means she doesn't respect you. She thinks she's in charge. So you might want to check out the boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds. It's all about you and your leadership. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents. So I'm teaching you how to be a leader. And they just don't fight a leader. They just don't. 3 is kind of a fork in the road. If you've been a leader for their toddler years, that's under the age of 3, by the time they turn 3, they get really easy. It's when they stop and think like this. On their 3rd birthday, it's almost like this. Now, wait a minute. They know what they're doing, so I may as well just not push it, right? Or else they go, wait a minute. They don't know what the heck they're doing, so I'm not going to listen to anything they say. So it's that fork in the road. It's when they stop and think. They have the ability to reason. 2-year-old fools around in stalls instead of getting out of her crib. If we force her to stop, she has a meltdown. Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're thinking. Well, how do we get her to stop without having a meltdown? You don't. The meltdowns, fits, tantrums, and scenes are the lessons. You've got to be willing to go through that. That's them processing that they can't get what they want, when they want, and how they want it. So, yeah, that's them processing that you're in charge. They're not in charge. So don't be afraid of that. Everyone says, how do we get them to do what we want without a scene? That's impossible. The scene is them processing you taking charge. So you want that. You actually want that. Everyone wants the rainbow, but they don't want the storm. The storm is the way to get to the rainbow. There's no rainbow without a storm, right? Yeah, you got to go through some hard stuff to get where you want to go. Like that 8-year-old I was going to work with, and he didn't know me. I'd never met him. And he said, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. It was like he went, oh, like, oh, she knows what she's doing. Oh, I can't manipulate her. I have no fear of a fit. No fear. None. And it comes across. It's like, bring it on. If you're afraid of it, that means you're afraid of them. And they pick up on that and they walk all over you. Has your behavior board changed since you've done your updates? Oh, it's the exact same. We've added some stuff in there, some hints and tips and all that. And it's also got a toddler section now. But yeah, the behavior board's never changed in 17 years. That's not true. I made that in 16 years ago because the first year I was coaching, like I've never used a behavior board. So I never thought to use one in teaching, but you can be good at something, but teaching it's another level, right? So then I thought, why aren't parents understanding accountability? So I invented this behavior board and put the parents on it too. If you're not on there, you're not accountable and you're not a leader. You're just a dictator or an authority. So yeah, leaders are accountable. So yeah, no, it's never changed. It's been beefed up though. It's like a mini course now. It's all muscular. Okay, good question and very timely. What's your take on gifts for Christmas? How many gifts versus how much money? We like experiences over gifts, but I'm curious on what you think is enough. Oh, I don't have a number. And, some of my clients are very, very wealthy. So I know clients who've given their teenagers like G-Wagons. I don't know what that is, but I looked it up once and I think it's $200,000. If they have a 16-year-old and all their neighbors' kids have G-Wagons, I guess that's not unrealistic. Just stuff like that. So there is no number. It's how you live, where you live, what your value system is. I was never big on overindulging the kids. But yeah, one thing I do recommend is that you get a toy rotation system in place. So, you know, those toys that they look at and they kind of go, oh, okay. And they put it aside, grab it fast, put it away. They won't remember getting it. Put it up in the cupboard. It'll look great when they get bored in March and you pull it out then. And also I made my kids, we never had a lot anyway, because I love decluttering and that. So I'd make them get rid of stuff to make room for new stuff. Yeah, we didn't indulge them a lot. I was more likely to buy nice big stuff instead of a lot of little stuff. Like they might get one or two bigger things rather than a bunch of little stuff. Yeah. It was so long ago now. I have a nearly 10-year-old who hates getting up in the morning, no matter how much sleep she gets. Any tips? Sort of. I've got a few different ways of dealing with morning routines. And one of them is I like my first go-to is the incentive-based one. You just have a morning routine. You have it written up on the fridge or something, and they have to brush their teeth, get dressed, eat breakfast, whatever, the whole thing. They have to basically be ready for school, their shoes in their bag by the front door. And then they have 10 minutes of screen time. So it's incentive-based. If they get ready, by this time, then they can have 10 minutes of screen time. But yeah, and I would be getting a 9-year-old out of bed. I would say, okay, so you got 40 minutes. Like, don't expect them to put an alarm on and get up on their own. Tell you a funny story. I told my son this. He was 5 years old. He was always working systems, like not in a naughty way, but he always figured, okay, so that's the system here. And then he was always trying to work it. So I said to him, if you're all ready for school, got your uniform on, your lunch in your bag by the front door, etc., wash your hair, brush your hair, whatever. So I told him all that. Then you can play on the computer games. So the next morning, I wake up, it's like 4 a.m. and I'm in bed and I hear from down the hall, beep, 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 beep. And I got up and I looked down the hall and the computer room's all lit up. He got up at 4 a.m., got all ready for school. He didn't leave until 8:30, but he figured the earlier he got up, the more time he'd get games. It wasn't naughty. And I came in there and he was so, look, mommy, I'm all ready for school. He was so proud of himself. God, it was so freaking cute. Anyway, so I had to explain. I said, no, you're only going to get like 10 minutes in the video game. Oh, okay. Is that adorable? He was working the system. I didn't stipulate how much time. That was my mistake. 2-year-old's melting down during bedtime routine. Do we ignore it and let it happen? Or is this an instance where they're tired and we're not meeting her needs? I'd still follow through and get her in bed. If she's tired, you still got to do the bedtime routine to get her in bed. See what I mean? So yeah, you are meeting her needs by following the bedtime routine. Maybe just start it a little bit earlier the next night. So, but don't let the meltdowns or scenes interrupt what you need to do, what needs to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got to get in the car and go to school. You've got to get them to bed. There's certain things that you just have to do. So don't let the meltdowns interrupt that. Another example of my son, he's always thinking sideways. He always had a different way. Could always figure stuff out. I'm going to change his name for this because he doesn't work with me, so I don't like to talk about his real name. So, and my daughter works with me. That's why I talk about her name, because you see her all the time on the podcast. Anyway, so he was 8 years old and he came home from school. We'll call my son Ryan. It's not his real name. So he comes home from school and he says, Mommy, he says, there's this new kid in school and his name is John, but he pronounces it Jean. Like they wrote it on the board, right? And he says, but he pronounces it Jean. And I said, well, sweetie, he was from South Africa. And I said, well, sweetie, I said, it's his name, so he can pronounce it any way he wants. My son, like this, said, okay, my name is Ryan, but it's pronounced Braveheart. I thought that was so brilliant. I thought, wow. And he knew it was clever. It's always making me laugh. That's very clever. That's why I love parenting. God, I had fun. These little entertainers that live with you that just provide all this entertainment all the time. It was wonderful. Okay. It's from Tony. You remind me so much of my mom who passed away when I was 11. Sorry about that. I lost my dad when I was 14. Nothing quite like it, losing a parent when you're still a kid. You look and speak so much like her. I find asking for advice from you a little like I'd imagine it would be with my mom. Oh, how sweet. Well, I'm glad I can provide you with some comfort. I'm sure if she was here, she'd be thrilled that you're finding some comfort from someone else. Yeah, sorry about that. It was, I've been through a lot in my life. I'm 64 now, but losing my dad, he had cancer, long illness, and losing my dad at 14 was the most traumatic event of my entire life. And I've been through miscarriage, other stuff, nothing compared to that. Because of the age I was at, it was so terrifying. It wasn't just sad, it was terrifying. I remember just, how can I imagine? I lost all my grandparents before him. It's not the same. I just remember that children are not, you just sort of take your parents for granted unless you go through something like that, which is normal to take them for granted. But yeah, I still remember it. Still the most horrific thing I ever went through. And I hope it remains that way. I hope I don't go through anything worse than that. Okay. I don't quite know what that means. Oh, it's a really long question, and I don't really want to read that whole question out, just because I'm going to be moving over to Instagram now because I've got a lot of work to do tonight still. So I'm going to be moving over to Instagram, and if you want to join me over there, I'm on YouTube the whole time. It's BratBusters Parenting everywhere. There's a lot of imposters out there pretending to be me. They're using all my videos, all my information. That's okay. Just don't give them money because you're not going to get anything from them. Because I hear about this all the time. Oh, we gave you money, and no, it wasn't me. That's not my PayPal account. That's not my Stripe account. So yeah, so watch out for that. BratBusters Parenting is the only one that is me. BratBusters Parenting, or BratBusters.com is my website. So if you're going to put any money in coaching or in courses, it's BratBusters.com. But yeah, it's nothing I can do about it. I've got a big following now, and it's just unfortunate that there's people copying me and taking money from parents. We've tried to shut them down, but you just can't. It's a full-time job. They just reopen up, and they're from all over the world, so there's not much you can do. Anyway, I got to go over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, happy parenting. Bye now. Oops, what did I do wrong? Here we go. Okay, Tabitha, I am on Instagram. I actually double checked. Okay. I'm never sure where I am. I've been doing these lives now for a couple of years. I think 2 years. I can't remember. Anyway, I've messed up. And I have a personal TikTok account also. I just talk about old lady fitness. And I'm hardly ever on there anymore. Anyway, and I often have started my lives when I'm on that account. And people will turn up on that account. Why are you talking about parenting on here? And I'll get nobody looking, nobody asking questions. And it still takes me like 5-10 minutes before someone comes in and tells me what I've done wrong. So yeah, it's funny. I remember the first time I ever did a live, and I was so nervous, and it was on TikTok. That's where I started, was on TikTok. And a couple of years ago. Anyway, and my daughter and her husband were at their home, and they were going to watch me on this live. So I'm on the live. No one's turning up. And I had like 500,000-600,000 followers at the time. No one was turning up. And because my personal TikTok's tiny. So like I've only got maybe, I don't know, 10,000 on there. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so they were like texting me, phoning me. And I thought, why do they keep bugging me? They were trying to tell me I was on the wrong account. But no, I went through 10 whole minutes. Why is no one turning? What a dope. I don't think sideways. I have this brain that only goes in one direction. And once I've decided that's where I'm going, I can't think laterally. I've always been like that. I was told years, and I don't know if it's a brain problem or whatever, but I can't learn a different language. I've tried. I've taken immersion classes and everything. They've kicked me out. I just can't think sideways. Once I've got a language, I can't think otherwise. Isn't that bizarre? So yeah, I can't think sideways. And that was a very good example of that. I was convinced I was on my I don't know if you've got a kid like that. I've survived in life. I think it's kind of funny. Okay. Okay, so welcome or welcome back. Sorry, I was yabbering on because I feel like you're my friends. I've been doing this for so long now. And you might be new, so welcome or welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a mom, I'm a parenting coach, and I'm also a grandmother. And if you go to BratBusters.com, that's my website, you can find my free behavior board. It's actually like a mini course. It's got a toddler section in there now too. And you can look at or check out my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. And I took on some new clients this weekend, which is really the last few days. What had happened was I kept because I have a big wait list for coaching, and I kept promising, oh, this week. But then my existing clients had the ones I thought I was going to be finishing up with, a lot of clients sign up again, right? So of course they get first priority. So that's what happened. So I felt really bad about that. I felt like I was lying, but then I did finish with a few clients last week. So I took on some new clients. So anyway, I do have a wait list, but usually I try and get to that as soon as I can. Okay, more potty training content, please, or pin it. I have a course on that, and it's in the potty. It's actually in both of my boot camp courses. It is an entire process. I actually wrote a book on it years ago. It's a whole system. I can't give you potty training tips. It would be like, I'll give you a tip on flying a plane, not the whole instruction, but I'll give you a tip on it, and then you can fly. Yeah, it's a whole system. It's like I always say, if you're going to follow parenting advice, what I teach, it's a very specific way of thinking and parenting, because I teach leadership, how you give respect to get it. You can't mix my ideas with anyone else's unless they're in line with mine, because it would be like joining a diet center or joining 2 or 3 and picking and choosing what you like from different ones. Generally, we all kind of work the same way. We have our own system, things that work the same, like they have to be used together. So the potty training one, if I was to give you one tip, it's not gonna do a darn thing. Like I never use pull-ups or night diapers. Does that help you at all? No. So you know the whole process and how I do it. And even then it's messy, by the way, but it usually takes 1 or 2 days. If you're lucky, it can take a bit longer. If you're a leader, I did it in my son was 2.5. He trained in 1 day. No night diapers, no pull-ups, nothing. My daughter was 2.5. She was 2 days. She had an accident on day 2. But I was already a leader, so that's why it was so fast with my kids. But it helps you exercise your leadership too. Are there any signs of infants to help steer them towards leadership parenting? How does temperament play into this? I don't quite know how to answer that, because infants, you meet their needs and meet their wants. Like if a baby cries, I pick them up. If they have a tantrum, I redirect. I'm not really teaching them much at that. That's when they're babies, and they're babies up to about 15 months, maybe a bit less. But by 16 months, you're starting to really teach them right from wrong. They're already starting to get it, but then you're starting to let them have fits, let them have tantrums, and let them learn how to get themselves out of it, rather than use the redirection and stuff like that. But yeah, it's more about, because I teach mostly connection with children. So you're just basically hardcore connecting with that baby, just playing with them, bonding with them, loving them up. When they cry, pick them up if you can. So yeah, you meet their needs and meet their wants when they're babies, because you're just connecting and making them feel safe. I knew a child who was adopted. She was a baby still, but I don't remember how old she was. She was 6 or 9 months or something. She had some massive separation stress. And because she hadn't had a connection up until then. I think that I'm not sure about all this stuff, but even if they were adopted at 9 months old, so long as they had connection and been cared for in those first 9 months, I think they can transfer it over to someone else. But having had no connection or she was neglected, right? So yeah, you could see it as she was growing up too. You could see it. But yeah, she really struggled because she hadn't had that connection as a baby. Like she knew what it felt like as a baby to cry and not be picked up. Like probably hardly ever. So it's so important. It's so important to connect with them. And it's all about love and affection and oh, I'm so glad. Courthouse 39. You've helped me so much from being a constant yeller. Most parents yell. The only reason you yell is it does work in the short term, but it's going to backfire in the long term. And it's just because you don't know what else to do. So most of my clients yell. It's so common, that if I get a client who doesn't yell, and I usually put no yelling on the behavior board. If they have a 3-year-old and over, we do a behavior board. So, and then I'll say, oh, so do you yell? And then every so often I'll get parents who say, no, we don't yell. It's so rare that it throws me off. I'm like, oh, let me think. What else can we do? It's just that rare that parents don't yell because it works. It's easy. You've always got your voice box. You can always do it. But I was never yelled at. I never yelled. So there are other ways. But if you've been yelled at, you see it as a quick go-to. Because I never grew that comfort with being yelled at, so I never yelled. It just wasn't something I grew up with. So it was very uncomfortable. For me to yell would be very uncomfortable. I mean, if they were going to go on train tracks and there was a train coming, of course, I'd yell then, but that's different. Are you still doing TikTok live now? Yeah, I'll be going over to TikTok after this. TikTok's where I got my start, really. I mean, I dabbled in social media, but didn't know what the heck I was doing. And then 2 years ago, my daughter told me, she told me 3 years ago, Mom, go on TikTok, go on TikTok, go on. And I said, I don't care about it. I don't know anything about it. It was like for 12-year-old dancers, as far as I was concerned. And literally, I went on TikTok within the first week. I think I got 10,000 followers. And then I increased within 6 months. I think I had 500,000 followers. Unbelievable. I just couldn't believe it. Like an old lady talking about parenting. And I was standing in my bathroom talking to my mirror, holding my phone like this. And another thing about parenting, like I couldn't believe it. Like you don't have to, if you've got information that can help people, everybody's good at something. If you've got information that can help people, I think it's your obligation to share it. I really do. It may not seem like anyone wants to hear it, but they might. If you can help someone out. That's why I did it. I just did it. I just thought I'd help a few people on TikTok if they were interested. So, I had the best intentions. It was just organic. It just happened. So yeah, I got a real soft spot for TikTok because of that. And then my daughter got me onto Instagram and Facebook, and now she works with me full time. But yeah, and yet TikTok has blacklisted Canadians. They don't pay us. I would have made a couple $100,000 in the last 2 years if they paid Canada. They don't. I don't know why they don't like us. I live in Vancouver. Half our population is Chinese. We love Chinese. We love China. Why don't you like us? I don't know why. Oh, well, we must have said something. I'm not complaining, by the way, about them not being paid. I don't know why. I just don't find that weird. I love this. Just need guidance on understanding kids' emotional mind. They're exactly like us. They just can't articulate it. That's why I hate timeout. Timeout is humiliating. Imagine if your boss said, oh, you were bad. Go stand in the corner and think about what you did. It's the same thing. It's the same humiliation. They just don't know how to articulate it. But yeah, they're just like us. They're just like adults. It's just, I'm their voice. I just understand kids. I just do. I've been studying them since I was 11. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. What a freak, eh? What kind of 11-year-old would do that? I was always had this really strong maternal instinct. I don't have it anymore. It's gone. I don't have any animals anymore. Isn't that weird? It's gone. Left with all my hormones after menopause. Yeah, I just don't have that need to be mothering all the time. Well, I guess I'm sort of doing that with my clients, but anyway, I don't know. It's weird. Hormones change things. There's some benefits to getting old. Well, my mom used to say, you're either going to get old or you're going to be underground. It's the only two options. So I feel very privileged to be aging. How to start potty training an almost 4-year-old. It's a whole process. I can't get into it here because if I gave you one tip, it's not going to help. It's a whole system on how I potty train. It's in both of my boot camp courses now. We just included it in the 3 to 12-year-old, but you might have to tweak a few things because it is made for toddlers. It's basically designed for 2.5-year-old, but you can adjust things. But you'll get the idea. So you might want to check that out. Well, you must know what I'm going to say to this. My 2-year-old screams at the top of her lungs when she doesn't get her way. I ignore it and remove fun. But now it's happening in public. So don't be a different parent in public or else they'll get worse in public. So yeah, just if it's somewhere where she's disturbing people, just take her out to the parking lot or in the car and let her scream there. And then you file your nails while she's screaming in the parking lot. So yeah. Don't be a different parent when you're out. A lot of parents make that mistake. They're always worse when we're out. Well, that's a tell. It means that you're not as consistent when you're out. My kids knew 100% I was the exact mother, exact same mother, no matter where we were, who we were with, what we were doing. I was predictable, consistent and predictable. They knew. And all it took, past the age of about 3, all it took from me was just the look. And my mom had that too. My mom always seemed to be sitting when she did it. I remember she always would go like that. It was like, whoops, that was all it took. So yeah, get rid of timeout. There's 3 things I hate. Timeout's one of them. There's a whole bunch of stuff I can't stand, but the common discipline methods that are used a lot, one of them's timeout. The other one is diversion, because you never divert with broccoli. They're doing something bad. You always divert with something fun, right? In other words, here's your reward for doing that. Like, you're rewarding the bad behavior. The worst one is the countdown. When they're doing something naughty and you say, you better stop that by the time I count to 3, it's such a weak, pathetic thing. You just sound like you don't know what you're doing. 1, 2, 2.5, 3, and then they break. So if they were hitting someone, they just kept hitting harder and harder, and then they break, and then there's no consequence. There's no lesson whatsoever. None. They just learned it's okay to be rotten in the short term, but not the long term. And even then, there's no consequence, like nothing. So yeah, they can do whatever they want, just so long as they don't keep doing it after you count to 3. But it's a fear-based parenting method because you don't want to deal with it. You're just hoping to God that they stop by the time you get to 3, right? Oh, please. Oh, Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. 2.5, 2 3/4, and 3, right? It's like that. So yeah, it's fear-based. They pick up on that. And plus, I heard someone the other day, oh God, I should tell this story. God, it was annoying. Someone's going to come after me if I tell it, but I'm okay with that. Anyway, what I find really annoying is when a kid does something really naughty, like really bad, and then the parent says, if you do that again, there's going to be a consequence. Where's the consequence for the first time they did it? It's such a weak place to come from. If you do that again, like in other words, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I don't want to have to deal with it. But if you do that again, it's a threat, and it's a veiled threat. It's empty, because where's the consequence for the first time? It's inconsistent. So there's no consequence if you do something rotten once. This is when they know it was rotten, and they always do. They always know when they do something rotten. Like if they kick someone, they know that's rotten. I'm not going to tell this story. I was going to tell it. It was something that happened when I was out. It was apparent. And I'm not going to tell it just in case they're watching. I don't think they recognize me, but I'm not going to say it anyway. Dying to. I have no filter. I'm dying to tell it. Anyway, okay. Is it normal for a 2-year-old to just have a change and become aggressive and whinging? Oh, you must be from down under or something. That's whining. In North America, it's whining. In Australia, it's whinging, because that's where I raised my kids there. He'll only want me to do everything. He'll only want me to do everything. Won't let his dad do anything. It's suffocating. Yeah, it's very normal for it too to become insane. They all of a sudden they just a switch flips and they find their power. Okay, I'm going to control you in this way. Nope. That was yesterday. Today, I'm going to control you in that way. They're going to keep trying stuff. If he wants you to do everything, that's what I said to my kids. They both went through that stage. I remember it was in the bath. Dad was giving them a bath, and they both did it when they 5 years apart, but different ages, obviously. They both did it when they were about 2. And I want mommy. And I yelled out, well, you're stuck with dad. That was all it took, because they knew when I said something, it was the way it is. And then I remember the next time the next kid did it, my husband said, you're stuck with me. And they shut right up. So yeah, just don't give in to that. Don't give in to them trying to control things. They don't want you for everything. They want to control. They want to be able to control it. Maybe you can let them get away with everything. Maybe they are more comfortable with you because they see more. But in other words, they're vying for control. I've tried different parenting styles to see what may fit him, and I'm at a loss. Well, I don't know. You can follow mine, but don't mix us up. If you're going to mix up different parenting styles, it's like mixing up different diets. Nothing's going to work. Guaranteed. Nothing's going to work. If you pick and choose what you like from different people, pick a path and go with it. Use me for 3 weeks and then give it a go. or use someone else. But there are two things I would look for with parenting. I'm very passionate about this stuff. I think it's really important. I would never take parenting advice from someone who hasn't finished the job with their own kids. They have to have had kids. They have to have lived with teenagers and raised them into adulthood. That's the PhD. You can't learn that stuff anywhere else. Also, they have to have worked with hundreds of other kids, because if you've only raised a couple of kids, you haven't come across everything. So yeah, they have to finish the job with their own kids, and they have to be functioning adults, and they have to have worked with hundreds of other kids. It's experience based. It just is. So I'm sure there's lots of other old ladies out there or old men out there who've had that same experience, but it just takes it's experience. If you have not lived with a teenager, how can you teach parenting? How do you know where you're going? How do you know? How do you know? How do you know if what you're doing today is going to get you into those teen years? Yeah. Okay. It would be like if someone just has little kids and they're teaching parenting, it's like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. Would you do that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Maybe they could teach, I don't know who else is out there, by the way. I'm very careful about that. But maybe they could teach like potty training or bedtime battles. But the big stuff, the big philosophy stuff, they don't know where they're going yet. They haven't been through it. And it's personal. It's not like anything else. A huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. I couldn't do their jobs, but they also struggle with parenting. Very different. One's personal, one's business. It's very, very different. So yeah, if you're going to take parenting advice from someone, look for someone with those two criteria, and then just follow them for 3 weeks. If it doesn't work, go on to the next. Whether it's me or anyone else, you choose who suits you, because it's personal. It's, you've got to feel comfortable. Almost 5-year-old acting out, immediate consequence? No, not necessarily. I don't know what they're doing. That's too general. I don't know what they're doing. Check out my website, BratBusters.com. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there, free stuff, and then there's also courses on there if you're interested. I don't know what they're doing. Can you speak about gender discovery with kids? I'm not going to get into all that woke stuff because it's not my area. I do deal with a lot of stuff like that in coaching though, but I just know it's going to cause, it's going to be young people coming on here who just want a platform. So I can't talk about it on here. I did it once before and I thought, no, it's just too high maintenance for me on here. Okay. One thing I do say, though, is I've worked with a lot of parents who are dealing with a whole bunch of challenges with kids who are discovering their bodies, discovering their sexuality. And I say, let's say you've got a little girl or little boy who wants to dress as the opposite sex and thinks they are. This is just a general comment, by the way. I would never let that kid dress up in the opposite sex and put them out to school or out in public unless I was very careful where that was. If it's not a really progressive, accepting environment, no way. I'd be terrified they'd be beaten up. Terrified. So I've heard so many stories. But yeah, lots of kids are discovering stuff and, 3-year-old turned mean, she'll say stop. I have no context around that. And plus, if you're doing something that you have to do and she says stop, why would you listen to that? Like, stop brushing, stop getting me ready for school. Nope. Just keep doing what you got to do. Oh, you want a tantrum story? Okay, I haven't told this in a long time. I used to tell a lot more stories, but I've told them thousands of times. I literally, my brain starts to go, okay, I can't even hear it anymore. So I'm going to try and say it. I'll try and mix it up a little bit here just so I can hear myself talk. This is the park story with 2-year-old, how you deal with tantrums. It's a true story. My son had tantrums. My daughter didn't. They're either born to have them. It's in their DNA. They're born with that it's a temperament. They're born to have them. I've never had a tantrum. My daughter's never had one. My son was good at it. He didn't have a lot of them and he outgrew them. But yeah, he had them. So anyway, he's 2 years old and there was a brand new neighbor. Someone had just bought a house in this little area that we lived in. And it was a new family. And they had, the whole neighborhood knew. We were all a bunch of young families. And they knew, oh, do you see? She has like this young mom. She has a 2-year-old little boy and we're all dying to meet her. We're all like little binoculars. Ooh, a 2-year-old little boy. We're all excited because we've all got little kids and we all want to get together. It's a pretty sad life when you're stuck at home with a 2-year-old. You're dying to talk to other moms, right? You don't have anyone else to talk to. So anyway, I went down to the park. She was there. I was the first one in the neighborhood to meet her. So I was so excited. And I've got my 2-year-old little boy. She's got a 2-year-old little boy. So there's 2 moms, 2 2-year-old little boys, 2 swings, and 2 benches. Okay. So I go to the park and we're all excited to meet each other. Hi, I'm Lisa. No, hi, I'm so-and-so. And we're both putting our little boys in the swing. And so we're just talking to each other. We're not really paying much attention to the kids. We're putting them in the swing. They both go, they want the other swing. Like they want to switch swings. So we just say, well, let's just switch. Who cares, right? We'll just switch them over. They both started melting down, had a tantrum. They're 2, right? They're just nuts. So they both started having a tantrum. Now which one should I do first? Oh, I'll do me first. I usually do her first. So anyway, this is what I did. They both start screaming. So I picked my son up and I took him over to the bench and I sat him on the bench and I sat down beside him. I knew he was going to try and run for the swing. So I put my arm out fast and blocked him. And he knew me. He knew there was no way he was going to get to that swing. So he just sat back and he probably screamed for about 2 minutes. It was a fast one. And for about 2 minutes, while he's doing that, I'm just looking at the trees, the birds. There's no way I would look at him or talk to him. I ignore the crazy, okay, which is a tantrum is a loss of emotional control and not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. You do not need to validate that. It's just a loss of emotional control and not getting their own way. You never validate that. You just ignore it, okay? So anyway, he only went for about 2 minutes. As soon as he was finished screaming, I said, oh, y'all done? Okay, let's go back on the swing. I never discussed a tantrum before, during, or after. There's no point whatsoever. So he's back on the swing. This is what the other mom had done. She started out the same way. She picked up her son, put him on the bench. The whole time she's talking to him. And mommy loves you and you're a really good little boy, but all you had to do was say, please switch and talk. She's feeding it. Any attention is tantrum food. She was fertilizing it. And it was growing and growing. She was getting more upset. He was feeding off her emotions. She was getting embarrassed. It was just awkward. It went on for about 20 minutes. And then finally, he starts with the hiccup cries. He's finished, right? And I'm thinking, oh, thank God it's over. My kid's just swinging, having a great time. So, and I'm not looking at her. I'm trying to pretend I'm not noticing. Anyway, so he stops having a tantrum. So I had ignored the crazy and rewarded the calm. As soon as he calmed down, he got back on the swing. So he learned as soon as I shut up, I get back on that swing, right? Now her kid stops and then she starts having a therapy session. Now, sweetie, next time you shouldn't. And they're both like in hell. It was just awful for like 10 minutes. She's having a therapy session with this poor kid. My son was getting tired. We left. And then they never did get back on the swing, I'm sure. It was just a disaster. 30 minutes of hell on one bench. Mine was just 2 minutes. And then he was back on the swing. She was fertilizing it. She was trying to reason with a 2-year-old who just didn't get his own way. Huge mistake. It's an amateur's mistake. She just didn't have experience with kids, right? I already had tons of experience before I had my own. And yeah, she was just doing this mini therapy session that is so popular right now. It's absolute garbage. It's crap. Toddlers are not about words. They're about actions. So when I put my arm out and I just ignored him, I'm saying, you're not getting on that swing. And I'm not giving you any attention while you're acting like that. He knew that. He'd already had experience with me. He knew that. So he got back on the swing. That's how you deal with tantrums. Now, there's lots of other little, sort of things about that too. Like afterwards sometimes, well, do we give them a hug afterwards? No. That is not the time. Like if they want to hug during a tantrum, no way. Because what you're doing, they're saying, validate this. You're actually rewarding the tantrum. You can love your kids up anytime, but during a tantrum. And then right afterwards, I need a hug. I go, you're all right. Pat them on the back and then go and do something with them. Well, you're all right. Let's go on the swing. That is not the time to love them up. You look like you feel bad. Oh, sorry, you had that horrible, awful tantrum. It's just all wrong. It's not love, by the way. That's validate me. I'm feeling insecure about what I'm doing. You should feel insecure about it and it'll end, right? But anyway, so that's how you deal with tantrums. And I get tons and tons and tons of feedback on that it does work. It's hard to do initially, but it does work. And if it doesn't, just go listen to someone else and try something else. But that's all I've ever done. And it works from what I've seen. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Tony. I do the therapy sessions with my 9-year-old, almost 10. I thought I was explaining to her why the action was unacceptable. Unless she has some learning deficiency, she probably already knows. So why are you berating her and bullying her and shaming her, which is what that is? Have a consequence. Say, okay, so you lied. Here's your consequence. Now, do you want to go play cards or play a game? It's like that. It's get it done. You deal with bad behavior. And a tantrum is not bad behavior, by the way, but you're discussing bad behavior, I'm assuming. Yeah, so that's why you never have a consequence for a tantrum. It is not bad behavior. It's a loss of emotional control, not getting their own way. They will outgrow it if you do this. Usually stops by 3, 3.5, around there. If they're still having tantrums by 4, you want to up your leadership skills. It's a sign that you got to up your leadership skills, because they should have outgrown it by 4. Certainly by 3 years and 9 months. When should you start the consistent corrective action? My 14-month-old twins don't seem to get it. You can sort of start it now, and they won't get it right away, but you got to be fast. That's the thing. If they hit with something, you got to take it right away and say no, then you put it away, and then you redirect. They're too little. You got to redirect them. You don't redirect them with, here's chocolate cake. You don't reward it, but you go, oh, what's this over here? I always use that voice with kids, like, ooh, what's this? Ooh. And they're going to come look, and you're just looking at a book they've seen a million times, but it's like that, So they'll start to get it. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. I get asked this all the time. Well, what about the toddlers? They just don't get it right away. Of course not. They're not going to get it right away. They learn a different way. Some of my clients are child psychologists, and they tell me I can't remember what they call it, and it wouldn't be me to say that technical word anyway, but it's like a knee-jerk reaction learning. That's what I call it. It's like a toddler will touch a hot stove 9 times, but they might not touch it the 10th, but they won't think about it. It's a knee-jerk reaction. They'll just go up to it and then walk away. It's like, that's how they learn. They don't learn by going, you know what? That was really hot that first time. Like parents will say, I can't believe it. I told him not to do that, and he went and did it again. And what's your point? He's 2. Like, it takes them a while. They learn more through knee-jerk reactions, knee-jerk stuff. So that's why it's consistent corrective actions, not words. They're not listening to you. They may be looking at you while you're talking. You hurt mommy's feeling. God, I can't even do that. It drives me so nuts. I hate those therapy sessions because they're garbage, absolute crap. I don't know who's teaching them because I don't know anybody else out there, but it's absolute garbage. Now, that hurts mommy's feeling when you do that. And they may be looking at you and nodding, and they might, okay, sorry, mommy. They're not listening. They're just parroting you to shut you up. That's all they're doing. Nothing. And then they say, I can't believe it. I explained it all to him. He's like 2 years old. I explained it all to him, and he did it again. And I'm like, well, yeah, what's your point? All you did was a therapy session. That's not his language. And he's not going to learn the first time. It might take 50 times. Timeouts aren't working for my 3-year-old. That's why I hate them so much. I hate timeout. I never use it. Any other techniques? Just keep watching. Keep watching. You can use the behavior board. Check that out. It's free on my website, BratBusters.com. But yeah, I hate timeout. It's useless. It's humiliating. I think it's mean. It's shaming them. You go sit in a corner. You're useless. Go sit in a corner. No one wants to be around you. I hate it. Ugh. And you think about what you did. Then you go over there and you shame and blame again, talk about what they did. It's horrific. I can't stand it. I think I made my point. You tell this tantrum story on every live. I do not tell that tantrum story on every live. I haven't told that tantrum story for at least, I would say, a good couple of weeks. I don't tell it. I do not. I've told it millions of times, but I haven't told that in a long time. I haven't told the pool story in ages either. I just can't tell them anymore. It's like it almost hurts. I've said them so many times because they're long too. Okay, good. This is Beck Carbone. Been following your advice and methods for a while. I'm a first-time mom with another on the way. So I can honestly say my anxiety about parenting / setting boundaries has absolutely mellowed. Good. It helps to have a plan. And that's what I'm here for. I'm just trying to set you up for those teen years, I'll be honest. That's where I'm always investing in those teen years. So you want to set yourself up as a leader, not a dictator, not a pleaser. There's those two opposing different styles, like the old-fashioned authority style, my way or the highway, you listen to me. Those teenagers are going to rebel. They'll probably come out the other end okay, but they will rebel, or they often will. Okay, that's the authority, the old-fashioned way. With the pleaser style, there's no respect from day one. They're going to walk all over you, and you're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. It's a total disaster. So yeah, that's the pleaser style. That's the newfangled way, right? I think it's going out of style because it's not working. That's why so many teachers are quitting, because these kids are just rude, disrespectful. They can't handle the classrooms anymore. And then the parents blame the school because they don't know how to parent. So anyway, it's just a disaster. I teach leadership. Leadership is all about giving respect to get it. And my son was 15 and he was mad at me about something. I don't remember what it was. I probably asked him to do a chore to help out or something. So he said to me, "Oh, I could never, you've been a difficult mom." And I was like, "What?" I thought I was great. He says, "You've been a difficult mom." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you're too, I can't rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to." Whoa. Wow. Okay. Sorry. I didn't quite know what to do then. Anyway, so yeah, they can't rebel against a leader because there's no pushback. There's no arguing. There's no, you do what I say. There's none of that. This is Devin. I'll just call you Devin. "Your advice helped me in a big way." Excellent. I'm so happy about that. Most people are never going to hire me because I can't take all those clients on anyway. Most people are never going to hire me, but that's why I do so many lives. We've got the podcast, we've got all the videos, because I'm trying to make a change here. I want you to enjoy parenting like I did. I want you to sail through the teen years like I did. I want you to wallow in parenting. It's not just about raising nice kids. It's about enjoying parenting. And this is how you do it. You want to have fun with your kids. You deal with bad behavior as needed, but then you focus on the good kid. That's the pool story. That's that example of leadership parenting video. It's the pool story. It sums up leadership parenting. I've got another story with a teenager. That's the same story on steroids. I only tell that in coaching. It's a bit much, but it's the exact same thing. I deal with bad behavior, but then I focus on the good kid. Sometimes you got to dig to find the good, but I'm pretty good at it. So. You got to bring it out. A leader brings out the best in them. A leader guides them to make good choices. A leader makes them like themselves. They like themselves when they're with the leader. How are you going to treat someone that makes you feel good about yourself? A leader raises kids with high self-esteem. Have you ever had someone that you look up to, like a mentor, a teacher, or a coach that you really liked? That's what this is all about. It's someone that makes you feel good. You tend to treat them really, really well. "My nails have never looked better after your advice." I've got so many parents say that they don't have any nails left. They're just down to the nubs because they've been filing their nails during tantrums, right? Love from India. Hello. I've got some clients in India. I got clients all over the world. Huge portion of my clients are Jewish. And I said, "Why have I got a huge portion?" And I said to one of them one day, I said, "This is really weird. Why have I got so many Jewish clients right now?" And they said, "Oh, because we talk to each other." I thought, oh, because when I say, "Where did you hear about me?" they'll often say, "From a friend." So yeah, I thought that was really cute. And I don't mean just from one community, all over the world. I got a whole bunch of Jewish clients. So I've learned a lot about the Jewish religion. And all different denominations of it too. But yeah, no, it's really fascinating. It's just fascinating. A lot of rules, a lot of stuff I didn't know about. So it's quite interesting. And I have to work around a lot of that too, right? So I love all that stuff. I have a lot of ideas on what I teach, but when I'm teaching people with different religions, different cultures from anywhere in the world, sometimes I have to adjust things to fit their beliefs or their family. Like a lot of dads in different cultures, they're the head of the household, so they will not be on the behavior board. They just the head of the household wouldn't be on the behavior board. So I do get them on eventually, but it's in a different kind of a way. But yeah, no, I love all that. I love it. You know what we're really bad at here in North America is, as much as I love North America, but it's what I'm so impressed with so many of my clients is how they look after their elders. Yeah, that's one thing that seems to be almost everywhere else in North America. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want to discuss what you just said. My girl is 6 now, and I don't discuss that. It's too controversial. It's not what I teach. Like, what I mean is I don't teach that, and I don't discuss it. I teach when I'm talking, I talk about the authority, old-fashioned authority, and the newfangled pleaser parent. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of teachings under both of those umbrellas. I don't teach either of those. Yeah, I do have an old school approach, I guess, but I'm not a dictator. I never tell kids what to do. I guide them into making good choices. So there's a bit of a difference. So it's old school. I guess you could see it that way, and yet it's not. Yeah. I know I used to mentor troubled teenagers, and they're the ones who told me to start this business. And they said, no one's ever talked to us like you do. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And they said, well, you're like a friend, but a friend that we want to please. It's interesting, isn't it? You're like a friend, but a friend that we want to please. And that's why they're really nice to me. Okay. I'm going to go over to TikTok now if you want to join me over there. Okay. Sorry, I've just got a message here. Okay, I'm going over to TikTok now. You can check out my website is BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, which actually is a mini course. It has a section for toddlers in it now. And you can look at my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, one for older kids, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list for coaching, but I got a bunch of new clients over the weekend. I got a bunch of openings, so it was really good. So I think I might have one more opening, unless someone else joins in that I've invited. We'll see. Anyway. So yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the wait list. Anyway, so I'm moving over to TikTok. I'm on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting. Bye now. I tend to make TikTok my shortest live just because my voice starts to go. That's the best compliment ever. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. They said, you're like a friend that we want to please. Yeah, I'd forgotten that one. Well, the nicest thing I ever heard from a kid was, I didn't like myself till I met you. I thought that was the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. I didn't like myself till I met you. I'm not that comfortable with that. You're like a friend that we want to please, because that's fine when they're kids, but when they're teenagers, not so much. You want them to be their own leaders. They want to please themselves. So it sort of switches. But if you're first getting to know like troubled teenagers, they will go revert to that. They'll want to please you, just because maybe you're the first person that they've come up against that makes them feel that way. So they do tend to go a little bit that way initially. Okay. Where I'm on TikTok now. Anyway, I might just get going here. So where have you been? Yeah, I've been sick actually. And I've been coaching like crazy. And, but also I've been sick. So what happens is if I'm coaching all day, I lose my voice by the time I don't have any voice left to do a live. So I'm better now. Anyway, and I don't coach on Sundays. So, and today's Sunday. Anyway, welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm also a mom and a grandma. And if you look at my website, BratBusters.com, you can see my free behavior board, which actually is a mini course. My daughter explained that to me. I said, what's the behavior? Because she does all that stuff. I said, what does the behavior board look like? And she goes, oh, it's a mini course. Here it is. She showed it to me. It's like a mini course. So, I don't know anything. Anyway, I'm just the product. She's behind it all. So, anyway, or you can look at our boot camp courses, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. There's a wait list for that, but I will get to it eventually. Okay, let's get going with your questions. Does the behavior board work if only one parent follows through? Yes, so long as the other parent doesn't undermine and override that parent. They have to just let the parent take control of that. It will not work if they know they can run to another parent who gives them whatever they want. It won't work. Yeah, they can't undermine you. But yeah, lots of parents don't want to be on it. I'll often be hired by a mom or a dad, and the other parent doesn't want anything to do with it. And I can usually get them on the board. That usually takes a while. I was talking to a family, and one of the parents said they didn't come on the board till they ended up hiring me again, because they said my only regret was that I didn't go on the board from day one. They thought it was like a harsh thing, but really it's about connecting, right? I mean, I teach how to discipline, but that's not what I'm all about. I'm about connecting with kids. When I was mentoring those troubled teens, they taught me more than anyone else. Do you think discipline was how I connected with them? God, no. Oh my God, no. Yeah, it's about connecting, building trust, and making them feel good about themselves. Because when they like themselves, when they're with you, they treat you like gold, right? So yeah, it's a balance. You know, I still had to deal with some stuff, but I was very careful. And it was all self-taught. I had to figure it out because I knew what other people were telling me to do was not going to be my style. I knew I was sort of forging new ground with all this, and it just worked for me. Because I never want kids to be obedient. I want kids to have high self-esteem. Obedience does not breed high self-esteem. I want kids to be proud of themselves. And if they're acting out, their self-esteem is in the toilet. So I want to bring out the best in them to increase their self-esteem, increase their pride. And if I'm the source of that, how do you think they're going to treat me? And then by the time they're teenagers, it's all sort of self-discipline. It's all happening. You want them to be their own leaders, and you're there for the big stuff. That's another thing. Teenagers are my favorite age by far, because they're the most interesting. They're the most developed and the most interesting, and the most challenging too in coaching. So you're not doing the regular schedule. No, I'm not doing the regularly scheduled lives anymore. What's happened is my daughter and I have had to make a lot of decisions in the business, and we're putting our energy where people are going, and the podcast has taken off. So, and it's free also. This is free. The lives are free. And so is the podcast, but the podcast is really taking off. So we didn't expect that. We didn't know. We just started it, I think, 2 months ago. So we're doing 2 podcasts a week. We'll probably end up increasing that. So we're putting more energy into the podcast, and we've only got so many, like you see me a very short period of time, but there's a lot behind the scenes of work that we do. So, yeah, but you just see me doing lives, but yeah, I'm doing a lot. If I'm not doing a live, I work 7 days a week. So does my daughter. We both do. So yeah, there's a lot that goes on in BratBusters, but we can't do it all. So we had to take away the regularly scheduled lives, and now I'm doing them when I can. And then we're putting more energy into the podcast every Tuesday and Thursday. The podcast is called BratBusters Parenting. My daughter and I, who's my business partner, we do it together. And it's tons of fun. Imagine working with your kids. She only came on board with me about 3 months ago, full time. And because she was already doing it part time. She had a corporate job and full time. And she was just helping me out with BratBusters. And then I was sort of, we were sort of working together a little bit. And then she realized, she goes, this is a full-time job. So yeah, she's working with me full-time now. And she makes most of the decisions with the business. So how do you bring out the best in them? That's the pool story. Look up the pool story. It's the very first video on TikTok. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's the very first video here on TikTok, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. Look at that later on. I can't tell it again. I just have told it so many times. Sometimes I have the energy for it, but tonight I already told the Tantrum story on Instagram. I can't tell the pool story now. I just can't. Anyway, look that up. Yeah, the podcast is on Spotify, Amazon. Where else? I don't know. It's across all the platforms. And it's also on YouTube. If you want to see it, my daughter and I doing it together, that's on YouTube. So we've got it on our YouTube channel. YouTube's our smallest platform. YouTube is not a social media platform. It's a search engine. So it's quite different. My daughter hasn't had time to really delve into that because we're so busy with everything else. But yeah, so YouTube, we're putting all of our podcasts on YouTube. Okay, I'll give you a very quick synopsis of the pool story. How do you bring out the best in them? You say, let's say a kid just lied to you and hit you. Okay, he's 6. You say, okay, I'll tell you. And this is just if you're not using the behavior board, because we don't use it for, I never used a behavior board. I would never use one. I want that kid looking right at me, not at a board. But the behavior board is a teaching tool. I invented that 16 years ago, put the parents on there. That's what makes it work. So let's say they just lied to you and then you caught them and then they hit you. So you say, okay, you lied and then you hit me. So there'll be a consequence. So I'm going to I'll give you 15 minutes to empty the dishwasher. Okay. So then you start the timer and then you don't talk to them. Just let them do it. I don't care if they do it or not. So after 15 minutes, they say, oh, okay, you chose not to do that. So now it's media blackout for 24 hours or whatever. And then they're mad. They're having a fit, tantrum. They're having an absolute scene, right? Okay. So they've got 24-hour media blackout. It's already started. So then you wait till they stop. As soon as they stop screaming and having a fit, you say, hey, look, I'm going to do media blackout with you because there's no way you should be on a phone or doing, media if they've got none. This is your time to connect. So then you say, hey, look, I'm going to do media blackout with you. Do you want to go play a game? No, I hate you. If they're young, they will play a game. If they're 9 or 10, they're going to say, no, I hate you. I hate you. Say, okay, never mind. Walk away. And then 30 minutes later, go back. Oh, you ready for that game now? So you're trying to connect. Eventually, they should give in. Then you're playing a game. You're having fun with them. So you're showing them you're not mad. You've already imposed the consequence. It's already done. A leader gets it over and done with. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid, which is about connecting with them. Hey, you want to play a game? You want to go to the park? You want to go help me bake something? Whatever. You connect and you talk to them. Oh, I saw you. Did you have fun at that game the other day? How was the birthday party the other day? You're just chatting away. I hate you. I hate you. Oh, okay, never mind then. Walk away and come back. You ready to, you see? You're always trying to connect. Take the high road. When kids hit the low road and they're acting out, often parents join them. It's who's there, who's on the high road to pull you both up, right? When the kids hit the low road, I stay on that high road, calm as anything, and I wait for them to join me. I keep inviting them up, though. You want to play a game? I'm inviting them up. No, I hate you. I hate you. Okay, never mind. I stay there. Then 30 minutes later, oh, you ready for that game now? No, I hate you. I hate you. Eventually, they might say, oh, okay. And then they're up on the high road with you. You got to stay there. Don't argue. I forgot about that. Why did you do that? Oh, I don't know. You'll know next time or I don't discuss it. They already understand it. The more you explain, the more they complain. They already know what's happening. Okay. Well, it's such a general comment. I don't know what to say to it. I feel like I say no all the time. Is there better options? I don't know. What are you saying no to? How old are they? I don't know. It's too broad of a comment. Did someone give me a mustache or was that me? Sometimes I'll do something on here and I don't even know it. Did your kids ever have trouble sleeping? What was the biggest challenge for you with your own? Okay, no, my kids weren't bad sleepers. My biggest challenge, I don't know. I honestly didn't have many because I always kind of knew what to do or I could figure it out. Well, there was no behavioral challenges. So that's what you're after, right? I found it difficult when one went to high school and the other one was I had 2 different schools to get them to, but it's not what you're after. Let me think. There must be something. I didn't like my son's tantrums, but he was a toddler and outgrew them. Behavioral? No. No. I'm sure there's something, though. There is something. Someone asked me what was the hardest part of parent, and I came up with something once. I can't remember what it was, though. It's not that things were perfect. It's just I was pretty good at figuring stuff out. So, and they were very well-behaved kids because they respected me. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I could think of something, but not right now. Can a mother still go through PPD 2 years later? PPD, that must be postpartum depression, right? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not qualified to discuss that. I have no medical qualifications. So I'm not qualified to discuss that. What age is too old for the behavior board? I would say maybe 101. Lots of people use it in their marriage too. Oh God. I did get permission to discuss this, but it's X-rated. But I'll sort of hint at it. I had this couple and they were arguing about something. And I said, you could get your own behavior board going. And I said, just between the two of you. And anyway, I won't go into it in great detail, but the father showed it to me. It was X-rated. Yeah, the consequence for the wife was he showed me the picture he drew. So yeah, it's any age. It's just an accountability chart. Here's the rule. If you break it, here's the consequence. It's an accountability chart. That's all it is. Lots of people have taken it to work and used it with their employees. More like using it humor-wise, but if someone's late, then they'll put down, no, you can't be late. If you're late, you have to turn up with treats for everyone, or coffee for everyone or something. I can't remember what it was. But it was a small office, and this one worked really well, evidently. And they said, if you're going to be late, you have to bring coffee for everybody at Starbucks or something. But if they were more than 10 minutes late, they had to also bring I don't know, little pops or cake pops or something. I can't remember what it was. No, I think it was Tim Hortons, and they got donut holes. So that if they were more than 10 or 15 minutes late or whatever. So yeah, and they used it at work, and it worked. No one ended up being late after that. I think a lot of adults can use an accountability chart. And I don't like the words, I'm sorry. If you do something to someone, the words, I'm sorry, they don't do it for me. I'm like, yeah, okay, keep going. An effective apology is this. Say, I'm sorry, just to start the ball rolling. Number 2 is take full responsibility. Oh, I'm sorry, I was late. It was all my fault. I should have, accounted for traffic, whatever. The third one is, what can I do to make it up to you? How about I buy dessert tonight? Make amends. Where's the amends? It's like the words, I'm sorry, I slaughtered your whole family. Sorry, oops. That's okay. The words, I'm sorry, are so overused. Where's the making it up to you? Where's the amends? Can you talk more about the teen years? Oh, absolutely. Most people don't ask about it. That's why I don't talk about it. But in coaching, I talk about it a lot. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. And I can elaborate on anything you want. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, negotiate as much as possible. Go something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Or do you want to hear what I did yesterday? And laugh it off, okay? Save your energy for the big stuff. Number 4 is don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. What I mean by that is when I'm working with a family and they've got teenagers that they've just been going through hell with for maybe years, right? And then I'll get them, the teenager actually agrees to go out for coffee with them or do something with them. And then I say, do not leverage that good time to discuss the bad times. Sure enough, every once in a while, someone will slip through and they say, I did it. What I said to them, this is wonderful. I just love spending time with you because you've been really difficult the last 2 years. And then they get the finger and the kid takes off. They can't figure out why. So don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. And number 5 with a teenager, this is probably the most important. And this can be used with any adult even too. You can either be a right fighter or you can be happy. Do you know what I mean by that? You can either be a right fighter or you can be happy. Can't be both. If they're arguing with you, they already know you're right. You usually are right when you're arguing with a teenager. But why are you arguing? Because you're a right fighter. You want to prove that you're right. They already know it. Why are you arguing? Don't argue with a teenager. There's no point whatsoever. And with teenagers, when I'm hired for coaching and parents have teenagers, they're off. And I always tell them this, you're going to be very disappointed in the first session or two, because we're not going to address any of the bad behavior. All we're going to work on is teaching you how to talk to teenagers, building up your bond, your relationship, setting some boundaries for you, teaching you how to start connecting with your teenager. You can't deal with bad behavior if you have no respect, right? It's impossible. Okay. Okay, what do I do if my teen got caught in school smoking? How do I approach? Say, oh, you got caught in school smoking. So when did that start? I just open up the conversation first of all and say, look, you can't smoke. I just don't want you smoking, right? So say, sorry, I'm getting over a cold. So say, let's start the negotiations. I want you to not smoke anymore. So what do you want from me? Start the negotiations. You're not going to give them money. They might, and then if they say, well, give me money and I won't, no, say, I'll tell you what, is there anything I do that annoys you? And you got to give them, like, maybe give them a week when you're not allowed to nag. You're not allowed to do something. Like, you got to give them something. You got to negotiate with a teenager. You can't just come in with the hard stuff. Lots of times we have to. I deal with crisis work with teenagers. Lots of times we do, but it's done very carefully. But yeah, open it up to conversation. I don't want you smoking. What can we do here? What do you want from me here? Let's start the negotiations. See what they say. This is from Linz. You're so wise. I've been watching for a year. You know, I'm in my 60s now. And I remember when I was young, I was always kind of born old. I was always the designated driver type, you know, one of those, right? So I always thought I was kind of wise. And then I realized I'm in my 60s now. I get it now. Wisdom comes with decades of, if you haven't experienced it and you've been open-minded and learned from watching other people go through it. So you've either seen it or you've gone through it yourself. You've just been there. And you realize, especially when you've lost your parents and everything, you've gone through so much that you don't tend to sweat the small stuff anymore. That's what I love being in my 60s. I didn't like my 50s. Well, I didn't hate it, but I was going through menopause. So yeah, I didn't like my 50s. I love being in my 60s. Isn't that weird, eh? Go figure. But yeah, you do tend to get wisdom if you've been paying attention and you're open-minded. I'm a learner. I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning stuff. I just love learning from people and discovering new ways of looking at things. I'm very open-minded. Okay, actually, I have to get going. I can feel my voice is starting to go. I got to get going. Anyway, check out BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my courses, and my coaching. And thanks so much for joining me. I'm going to start coughing again, so I got to go. Thanks so much. Happy parenting. Bye now.